blah, blah, and that's great. But for the exam purposes, for your own education purposes, the book, always. But for your exam, this is where you need to be. Especially those things I highlighted, those excessively difficult things. Especially those things I tried to put you in perspective with. Like I said, how do you articulate this to this? That kind of stuff is going to be really important. Okay?
Okay.
I'll see you later.
Will you help us with this, please,
Sure.
for our video? Can you name all the false
I can't, but you can.
No. Well,
I can't.
I
We
don't
know this. We know this.
my pronunciation is not good, so
Whose pronunciation is good? Because
Yours. You're the
yours. Yes, you're the
All
professor.
right. So you want to do the video?
Yeah, it's for the
Yeah.
video.
It says spelling counts and pronunciation.
Yeah. All right. Tell me when.
No.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your Dr. D's time. Okay? So when we talk about the skull, we're going to have to talk about breaking it down into digestible parts. These digestible parts are naming them where they are. For example, this bone, and you can see the delineation of this bone, is called the sphenoid. In the sphenoid, we have at least two foramen. The first foramen I'm going to go because it's so small and tiny is the spinosum, the foramen spinosum. Okay? You can see this bilaterally. It's a very small foramen. Then we're going to go more medial and look at this large oval-shaped foramen, and this large oval-shaped foramen that's in the sphenoid bone is called the foramen ovale. As we move more medial, we're going to look at the vomer. It's very close to the vomer, but what we're going to do is we're going to go down from the vomer and look at this large opening called the foramen lacerum. Okay, from the foramen lacerum, which is right at the base of the occipital, the basilar occipital bone, we're going down, and we're going to go to the next major foramen, and that major foramen is going to be the carotid canal. From the carotid canal, we're going to go into another part of the bone called the basilar part of the bone. Check that, the temporal part of the bone, or the temporal part, the petrous part of the temporal bone, which is the jugular foramen. As you can see, it's kidney bean shaped and it's huge. It's lateral to the occipital condyle. But then you cannot forget some interesting parts, and I'm going to move this a little bit so you can see. This pointy area is called the styloid process, and this massive protuberance is called the mastoid. But if we look down between the mastoid and the styloid process, we're going to see a foramen called the stylomastoid foramen. Okay? And once we look at the stylomastoid foramen, we have covered all the major foramen, except, let me talk about Big Daddy. This is Mufasa. This is the big foramen called foramen what? Magnum. Everybody going to get that? It's not going to be on the test, so don't forget it. But we're going to emanate down a little bit, and we're going to go down to an area that most students mess up. And this area is called what? The EOP, or better known, external occipital protuberance. Okay? And this external occipital protuberance is part of what bone? The occipital bone. Now, if you want to be really fancy, you can talk about the occipital crest. I'm probably not going to test you on it. If I test you on it, you group will get it because it'll be extra credit. Also, well, I want to go and take you to an area that's very, very confusing. And this area is when you delineate this large, beautiful bone or a projection, it's called the what? Zygomatic process. Okay? The zygomatic process has two parts. It's part of the zygomatic bone and the temporal bone. Now, if I ask you for it in the center, that's the zygomatic process. But if I ask you for it closer to the frontal part of the face, I'm going to ask you for the zygomatic bone. If I ask you all the way back here towards what this is the EAM, external what?
Acoustic meatus.
Acoustic meatus. You're going to be in the temporal bone. And that's doing it right now for the Dr. D's lecture circuit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.